Military Tribunal 1.
Im großen Schwurgerichtssaal zu Nürnberg begann genau ein Jahr nach der Eröffnung des ersten großen Kriegsverbrecherprozesses die erste Verhandlung gegen 23 führende nationalsozialistische Ärzte. Das Militärtribunal besteht aus 4 amerikanischen Richtern. Den Vorsitz führt Oberrichter Beals. Zahlreiche deutsche Zuhörer waren zu der Verhandlung zugelassen. Der erste Tag war der Verlesung der Anklageschrift vorbehalten. Sie erfolgte durch den amerikanischen Hauptankläger General Telford Taylor.
Karl Brandt, Siegfried Handlose, Paul Rostock, Oskar Schröder, Karl Jensken.
Die Anklageschrift enthält 3 Gruppen von Verbrechen: gemeinsame Verschwörung, Kriegsverbrechen und Verbrechen gegen die Menschlichkeit. Zu den in der Anklageschrift aufgeführten Delikten zählen zahllose Morde und Grausamkeiten in Konzentrationslagern, Krankenhäusern und Versuchsanstalten sowie unmenschliche medizinische Experimente, begangen an hilflosen Männern und Frauen. Jeder Angeklagte wird von Oberrichter Beals einzeln aufgerufen und gefragt, ob er sich schuldig oder nicht schuldig erklärt. Karl Brandt, der frühere Leibarzt Adolf Hitlers, Generalleutnant der Waffen-SS und Reichskommissar für das Sanitäts- und Gesundheitswesen.
Against you. Guilty or not guilty? Nicht schuldig. Be seated.
Der zweite Hauptangeklagte ist Siegfried Handloser, früherer Generaloberstabsarzt und Chef des Wehrmacht-Sanitätswesens. Alle 23 Angeklagten bezeichneten sich als nicht schuldig. Die einzige Frau unter den Angeklagten, Hertha Oberhauser, früher Ärztin im Frauen-KZ Ravensbrück. Nachdem alle Angeklagten ihre Erklärung abgegeben hatten, vertagte sich das Gericht für 2 Wochen.
All of the defendants herein, acting in concert with others for whose acts the defendants are responsible, unlawfully, willfully, and knowingly participated as leaders, organizers, in the course of which experiments the defendants committed the murders, brutalities, cruelties, tortures, atrocities, and other inhumane acts more fully described in counts 2 and 3 of this indictment. In or about December 1943 and in or about October 1944, experiments were conducted at the Buchenwald concentration camp to investigate the effect of various poisons upon human beings. The poisons were secretly administered to experimental subjects in their food. From about November 1943 to about January 1944, experiments were conducted at the Buchenwald concentration camp to test the effect of various pharmaceutical preparations on phosphorus burns. These burns were inflicted on experimental subjects with phosphorus matter taken from incendiary bombs and caused severe pain, suffering, and serious bodily injury. 112 Jews were selected for the purpose of completing a skeleton collection for the Reich University of Strasbourg. Their photographs and anthropological measurements were taken. Then they were killed. Thereafter, comparison tests, anatomical research, studies regarding race, pathological features of the body, form and size of the brain, and other tests were made. The bodies were sent to Strasbourg and defleshed. The execution of the so-called euthanasia program of the German Reich, in the course of which the defendants herein murdered hundreds of thousands of human beings, including nationals of German-occupied countries. This program involved the systematic and secret execution of the aged, insane, incurably ill, of deformed children and other persons by gas, lethal injections, and divers other means in nursing homes, hospitals, and asylums. Such persons were regarded as useless eaters and a burden on the German war machine. The relatives of these victims were informed that they died from natural causes, such as heart failure. German doctors involved in the euthanasia program were also sent to the eastern occupied countries to assist in the mass extermination of Jews. Between September 1939 and April 1945, all of the defendants herein medical experiments without the subject's consent upon German civilians and nationals of other countries, in the course of which experiments the defendants committed murders, brutalities, cruelties, tortures, atrocities, and other inhumane acts.
It can be said, I think, that Gebhardt's position vis-a-vis Himmler was about the same as Karl Brandt's vis-a-vis Hitler. Gebhardt was, as he stated, also personal physician to Albert Speer, the defendant before the IMT. Together performed the experiments on Polish women in the Ravensbrück concentration camp in connection with the sulfanilamide experiment.
It's from Obergruppenführer Wolf, personal adjutant, personnel director of AMP, one of the AMPs under Heinrich Himmler. Highly esteemed General Field Marshal, dear party member Milch, you will remember that I, by order of the Reichsfuhrer SS, recommended to you the work of an SS officer, Dr. Rascher, who was a medical officer of the Luftwaffe on leave. This work on the influence of high altitudes on human organism and on the cooling of the human body in cold water and similar questions deals with problems which are of the utmost interest for the Luftwaffe. We are able to perform this work with special effect because the Reichsfuhrer SS assumed personal responsibility for these experiments on socials and criminals deserving death from concentration camps. It is a pity that you had no time when Dr. Rascher recently wanted to lecture at the Air Ministry. The Reichsfuhrer SS expected very much of it, because being personally informed, you certainly will have taken action to remove the many difficulties of Dr. Rascher's work. These difficulties are always the same. Luftwaffe medical officers are of the opinion that a young German airman may risk his life, but that the life of a criminal who is not called up is too sacred for that, and that they do not want to be blamed for such experiments. Still, the results of the experiments are used while the scientist who carried them out is eliminated. The Reichsfuhrer SS himself has seen the experiments, and I can state that without exaggerating, helped and stimulated in every phase of these experiments.
Most remarkable findings in Miss Zidow's case is at first marked atrophy of the right leg, including thigh, leg, and foot. This scar is 16 inches long. The width of this scar varies from 1/8 inch to 1/2 inch. The lower part of this scar still shows inflammation and oozes seropurulent. This mutilating scar begins 2 inches below the lateral epicondyle and extends downward to the lateral malleolar region, including the dorsum of the right foot. At its upper end, the scar is 1/2 inch wide. In the middle of the leg, the scarred area measures 2 3/4 inches.